On an unremarkable Friday afternoon in the summer of 2017, I lost my job. I was called into a meeting room at work, and my boss's boss Skyped me from the New York headquarters to let me know that I was being made redundant. The website I'd worked for as an editor for the previous 2 years was being shut down, and nearly all its staff were being let go, effective immediately. In a state of shock, I packed up my desk, left the office in the middle of the afternoon, and went home. Over the weekend, my mum took me out for lunch to console me. She was telling me everything would be fine and that I'd find a new job soon when I heard the words come out of my mouth. I've already got another job. I'm freelance now. Sure enough, when Monday morning rolled around, I got up and went into the kitchen where I sat at the table, opened up my laptop, and started freelancing. In the year before I lost my job, I'd already thought about going it alone. I would sit at my desk in the windowless basement at my staff job and daydream about what it would be like to make a living from my own home. Not having to deal with the politics of an office, or indeed the commute to it, sounded like my kind of career. It wasn't just my allergy to the office that made me suspect I was better suited for self-employment. As someone who thrives on variety and who struggles with being told what to do within a rigid professional hierarchy, I've always felt hemmed in by any job title I've held. But it took a redundancy to finally push me to make the leap. I'd been too scared to go freelance up until then because I'd heard the horror stories about how precarious self-employment was, and I believed them. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to make the finances work, that I wouldn't find any clients, that I'd drown under a pile of crumpled receipts trying to file my own tax returns. What I realise now is that I was telling myself freelancing wasn't viable because I refused to believe that it was possible to have my dream career come true. I was hiding behind excuses of a regular paycheck, holiday and sick pay, and staying in a job that made me miserable. But when all the things I thought I had to lose were gone, I realised it was time to make a change. In spite of the circumstances that prompted the start of my freelancing, by the first anniversary of my redundancy, I'd had the best year of my career. I was writing for publications I'd once only dreamed of, including a front-page story in the New York Times. I was earning more than I had done in my staff job, and, most importantly, I'd never felt more fulfilled in all of my working life. The horror stories didn't materialise, but I did have to adjust to freelance life, which opened my eyes to a completely different way of working than I was used to in traditional employment. When I started my very first job, I was shown around the office. My new colleagues took me for lunch, and the HR worker handed me an employee handbook. None of that happened when I went freelance. No one showed me how to go about doing my work, no one invited me out for lunch, and there was no handbook to reference. I was on my own. Freelancing isn't better than working in-house, nor is freelancing a solution to work-based problems. My own story isn't about quitting a job, going freelance, and living happily ever after. It's about figuring out how to make working for myself work for the long haul, because I truly believe that it can be a viable career plan for those who choose to work differently. When I look back over the course of my freelancing career to date, there's so much I wish I'd known. I needed a resource to guide me through the ups and downs, a handbook I could keep on my desk and reference whenever something unexpected came up. So, I wrote it all down. I wrote You're the Business to be your own personal freelance cheerleader. I filled it with everything you need to know to work for yourself, including all the lessons I've learned and some inspiration from a few superstar freelancers. I hope this book can be something you turn to when you have a problem that needs solving, that it brings you comfort when times are hard, and, ultimately, that it gives you a roadmap for happiness and success when you strike out alone.